So there's two general opinions I've seen on YouTube. One is society doesn't really exist, and it's really just a bunch of individuals making their own individual rational decisions. And thinking of that as society is just fuzzy logic. And then on the other hand, there's people that say there really is no such thing as an individual because society gives us all of our values and our language and our common sense, and make we don't make choices in a vacuum. We make choices based on cultural conditioning, social conditioning, social pressure. Um, and okay, I look at both of these perspectives on this individual society relationship, and I don't see how either one of them can be right. Neither one of them are right. The truth is, we and I and it, those are grammatical conventions. Those aren't aspects of reality, of nature as it exists without a language. Because we think language is supposed to map nature, it's supposed to tell us what's out there in the world that we can see with our eyes. And sometimes it does, but its real function, besides just pointing out things in the world, like this is a can of iced tea, most of the time when we use language, we're conveying objects that aren't physical. So they're not even objects, they're ideas. They are connotations, relationships, categories. None of these things exist in the world. Society doesn't exist in the world. The individual doesn't exist in the world. What exists is a relationship. And these words we have, individual, society, those are the poles in that relationship. But they're always swirling around one another, and they never break apart. One never gains control over the other. They're dancing, and they need each other to exist, to have any form themselves. Society's form is a product of what we deem the individual's form to be, and you can't give anything to the individual without taking away from the society. You can't give anything to the society without taking away from the individual. There's no extra. There's no way to break the equilibrium. The equilibrium is always going to be maintained, even if it's out of balance in time for however long the period is. It's always going to even back out. Neither side can ever win. So, but what does that mean, though? If I'm not an individual, and there is no such thing as society, that means we, all of us, are sort of forced to be present to each other because we don't know who we are separately. We don't know who we are in relationship to this it thing called society. All that we really have is the we. That's the only time we can really be conscious of ourselves, because if we're stuck in the individual mode, or if we're stuck in the society mode, then if we think society is in control, we feel powerless. If we think the individual is in control, we feel like we have to destroy society. What isn't society just everybody else? So both of those are sort of out of balance. The only one that seems to be imbalanced to me is the we consciousness, the intersubjectivity, the identity that's non-local, still an identity. It's a community, though. It's like what our brain is. It's a community of neurons. And when they work together, when they agree to work together, look what they can do. They create this higher level called the human being, and the human being then has to learn to create the new sphere, the planetary consciousness, by giving up this desire to be separate and giving up this desire to relinquish responsibility to society. It can't be either way. We have to be responsible for each other. We have to somehow be able to unite as one mind for a larger project.